All right, let's just jump right in. We have all been on that bus ride from hell, right? But what if that shared misery, that feeling, wasn't just some random awful event? What if it was actually a test? Well, that's what we're going to explore, looking at Schopenhauer's bus ride through the incredible lens of governance physics.
So you've got this philosopher, Arthur Schopenhauer, who gives us this perfect little thought experiment. He basically says life is like this crowded, uncomfortable journey where we're all just stuck together. We're all fellow sufferers. And you know what? We can all relate to that. That feeling of shared frustration is just so universal.
But here is where we take a really sharp turn. What if this isn't just some philosophical musings on suffering? What if that misery on the bus is actually an engineered event? A kind of simulation that has a very, very specific purpose.
So, here's how we're going to break this all down. We're going to start with Schopenhauer's miserable bus ride, then introduce a really simple formula for processing reality called the Kitchen Protocol. After that, we'll dive into the pretty wild idea that we're all wearing a headset of reality. Then we'll see why compassion might be more like a physical algorithm than a feeling. And finally, we'll pull it all together with the governance solution.
Okay, so let's get back on that bus. Because that miserable ride, it's not just a bad day. It's actually our model for the default human experience.
Yeah, this bus ride is the perfect stand-in for what governance physics calls the NAF-centric universe. Now, you can think of NAFs as our ego, or that core sense of I. So this is a universe that feels like it's designed to test you specifically, a reality that seems to revolve around your personal discomfort, the heat, the delays, the person crowding you. It all feels so personal, doesn't it?
So how in the world are we supposed to deal with this? Well, the framework offers a tool, a sort of mental recipe for processing reality. It's called the Kitchen Protocol, and it's summed up in this simple but really powerful equation, E equals UD squared. So let's break down the ingredients. First up, you've got U for utility, or as it's called here, the apparition. This is just the raw data of your experience, the physical facts. The bus is crowded, it smells bad, it's late. This is the truthfulness of what's happening. It's like the heat from the stove. You just can't change it. And next, and this is the important part, we have D for governance. This is your filter. It's your cognitive agency. It's the one thing in this whole mess that you can control. The protocol. The mindset you choose to apply to all that raw input. It's how you decide to cook the meal.
And this slide, this is where you see the incredible power of D. Your filter changes everything. Look on the left. If you apply a low governance filter, your ego, that raw input from the bus just turns into resentment and suffering. But now look at the right. With a high governance filter, compassion, you realize, hey, everyone here is a fellow sufferer. And suddenly, the result isn't suffering, it's connection. It's the exact same input, leading to two totally different outcomes.
So here's the crucial point. The miserable facts of the bus, the U, that stays constant. But your filter, your D, completely transforms the E, the very essence of the experience. You literally have the power to turn torture into an act of solidarity.
Okay, so we've seen how we can change our experience of the bus. But what if we've been looking at the bus itself all wrong? What if the physical reality of it is just a construct? This next idea is where things get even more interesting.
Cognitive scientist Dr. Donald Hoffman puts forward this really radical idea. He says the physical world, space-time itself, is not the fundamental reality. It's just a data structure that only exists when we're perceiving it. I mean, think about that. That changes everything.
Hoffman calls this his interface theory of perception. The world we see isn't the real thing. It's a user interface. It's like the desktop on your computer. The bus, the people, even the smells, they're not the deep reality, the source code. They're just useful icons on your screen.
So this process of how reality gets rendered is described by this equation, TQGCFE. Let's just walk through it. First, you have the quantum truth. This is objective, absolute reality, the source code behind everything. Second, you have your cognitive filter. This is your unique mind, which acts like a personal graphics card. And finally, these two things combine to create your rendered reality, that subjective movie playing in your head, the desktop that you see. So the bus isn't really out there, it's being rendered in here.
So if we applied this to our bus ride, what does it mean? It means it's not just a collection of separate people. It's a multiplayer game. The other passengers aren't separate objects at all. In Hoffman's view, they are the one consciousness, looking at itself through a bunch of different headsets. Which means that person who's really annoying you, well,
That's just another avatar of you.
Now, why does any of this matter on a bigger scale? Well, if we're all just nodes in one giant network, our individual choices have huge, system-wide consequences.
This interconnected web of consciousness is called the network of Anphis. You can think of Anphis as the collective of all selves or souls, and the whole point of simulations like the bus ride is to test and improve the health and the connectivity of this entire network. And this slide just perfectly lays out the stakes. On the left, you get high network noise. That's what happens when all the passengers are operating from their ego, with hostility. The result is just social friction and chaos, entropy. But on the right, you get high connectivity. When passengers choose compassion, they create resonance, they create stability. This allows for what the framework calls zakat, a kind of purified positive knowledge transfer that actually strengthens the whole system.
So the really crucial point here is that compassion isn't just some nice moral idea. In this model, it's network stabilization protocol. It is literally the most efficient algorithm we know of for reducing friction and chaos in a complex social system. It's not just morality, it's physics.
Okay, so let's bring this all home. How do we actually apply this in the real world to transform our own miserable bus rides? It really boils down to a three-step process. First, recognize the bus ride is just an apparition. It's an icon on your desktop representing a test. Second, apply your protocol. Use that feeling of discomfort as a trigger. Remind yourself, I am the operator, not the avatar in the game. This is your moment to consciously choose the compassion filter. And third, by doing that, you transform the essence of the event. You turn it into a kind of spiritual gymnasium for your own growth.
And what's the result? You get off that bus having not only grown yourself, but you've actually strengthened the entire network. Your choice to apply compassion sends a stabilizing vibration through the whole system. It's a win-win.
And this brings us to our final thought. The bus ride is only miserable if you think you are the passenger, if you identify with that one little avatar. The moment you realize that you are the one consciousness experiencing that bus through every single viewpoint all at once, well, the misery just dissolves, and all that's left behind is meaning.